IT background will go hopefully to the information finance. Similarly, how do you manage the conflict of interest, both on the part of the person who may be going and getting exposed to certain information, certain people and all, and certain policies, and backwards?
That's a very good question. Who wants to take this on? Bharat, do you want to start with that?
I'm the most conflicted in this.
Wow.
Bharat, before you answer that question, Lakshman actually reminds me of my professor at Howard University. There's something called cold calling, and 4 of us are being subjected to that relentlessly.
Well, it's a lesser-known university, so therefore you have to do these things. So go ahead, Bharat. Yeah.
No, I don't see conflict of interest as an important issue. I think, as Lakshman mentioned, in the US you have a very vibrant culture of the revolving door of people spending time both in government and then going back to the private sector and so on. It's just that you have to wear the right hat at the right time. When Nandan Nilekani was CEO of Infosys, he was thinking of how to make Infosys the largest IT company in the world. But now he's thinking how we can roll out 600 million ID cards in the next 3 years. Of course, there is a sort of broad skill set which is going to help him do both those things. But the objective function that you're trying to address is very, very different. And I think you need to reorient yourself into that objective function.
Anybody else wants to comment on this? This is a good one. Go ahead.
Lakshman, not exactly this. You had asked me that question on impact and you had given me about 10 seconds to answer.
I was expecting you to think.
So I've just thought about it, and one of the ways, for instance, we have about 60 to 70 ministers in the government. We have about 540 MPs in the Lok Sabha, another 250. And what was interesting in the introduction, when you introduced your group of members, your team, there were 2-3 of them who were working with a particular MP. I mean, in terms of impact, I would think, and Bharat would be a good person to second this. If some of these youngsters are directly attached to ministers, to MPs, and if there is that space, because every minister is entitled to almost, you won't believe it, because I work with a minister, he's entitled to about 14 different ranks of people that he can keep with him. And invariably, a minister would, pick up people from his constituency and, that kind of a thing. If we could have a system in government whereby, we make it mandatory, you have to have 2 professionals with you. You tell that every minister, this is a privilege you have. But you have to keep 2 professionals. The rest, 10, 12 is your choice. It's up to you. 2 professionals, and identify the level of competence that you expect in terms of a graduation and a little bit of experience. I think that's where the impact, though they may not be working in the field, but the impact could be greater because they could actually influence the person who makes the policy.
I think it's an excellent point. We are, in fact, experimenting with the first, I'm going to call it Office of the Senate type of a model here in Delhi. And it's actually working quite well. Do you want to add to that?
The only caveat, I think it's a great idea, the only caveat is either the IAS will figure out how to, their ingenuity why IAS officers should get those 2 positions, or the politician will figure out why people from his constituency should get those 2 positions. But otherwise, it's a great idea.
We were talking conflict of interest. Dr. Faisal, do you have a comment on that? Or on? Okay. Go ahead.
Lakshman, I just try to take some time from all the questions asked because they are very short questions. So please allow me a little length on this one.
I don't think so.
Permission denied, and I said that. Okay, my name is Saurabh Chaudhary, and I'm working for McKinsey & Company. And before that, I was working for the government for 10 years. I was also a civil servant. For 10 years, I was working in the Ministry of Railways. And then when I got my MBA qualification, and then when I asked the government that I don't want to quit, I want to stay back, but I want to go out for 5 years and come back and work somewhere and see. The government said no. They said no, you have to quit, you have to cut all your ties, tether yourself and go. This is example number 1. Example number 2 is an army major who's again done his MBA from Ahmedabad, and he wants to provide security systems and he wants to provide security knowledge or consultancy to government of Gujarat, and he goes and meets the Chief Minister. Chief Minister says, yeah, you can come, but then again he goes down the bureaucracy, they say maybe, maybe not.
And your question is?
Yeah, and my question starts now. So number 1, are we having, and we are not having of course, so are we having institutions, systems, just for the knowledge of the public, but I feel that they're not there, where a person who would like to contribute because of his knowledge, experience, whether private or whether he's been dropped through a parachute or whatever, he wants to just contribute. So okay, the government says open hands, yeah, they also HR whether it's fit or not, number one. Number two, are the IAS officers comfortable with the fact? Okay, so there is always hierarchy, etc. But are the IAS officers themselves comfortable with the fact that the person is coming with a different background? So he's coming from a non-hierarchical background. So are they ready to work and accept that?
Thank you for that long question. Shikhar, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, what was the first one?
I'll do that.
I believe that there are very few avenues now presently. I think the consultancy route is one of the main routes where some few would have interacted with government. Apart from that, I think only outside tendering and you get into the tendering process. I think that's the only way. But that's why you need an institutional mechanism where you have people from of different skill sets getting in. But as I said in my earlier remark, are we ready for it? Are we, in the sense, is bureaucracy ready for it? And you see, you can't push something which is going to have a drastic impact on the entire system. You've got to bring change which is not perceivable, and which really makes a change ultimately. So, well, of course, I mean, as an IS officer, of course, you feel it's a threatening thing. There would be a feeling that, let me give you an example, because as officers, as public servants, and as politicians, there is a sense that we're publicly accountable. There's a public accountability piece. That the politician, of course, is much more politically accountable. Whatever the mechanism, how it's working, that's a different thing. But accountable in parliament, accountable to the constituency. For an officer, accountable to the politician. For free radicals around, no accountability, right? So there is a feeling. Let me, since it's an open discussion, so there would be a feeling in government and within bureaucracy is that you can't have all the fun and not have accountability, right? So you have to devise, if you want to make this mixture, because there's no denying the fact that you have to have this mix, otherwise government is going to stagnate. But on the other hand, you have to find that answer. How do you integrate them into the system? And where it's not threatening, but you get the best ideas, and everybody is happy. And it's a nice story. Everybody should be happy in the end. I don't know the answer to that.
I have an example. Just a second. There in Jammu and Kashmir, I met a district magistrate, and he told me that we have a tourism consultant from Switzerland, and she is going to suggest us about something. How do we increase the avenues of tourism in one of the regions in J&K? And she's obviously a specialist and an expert in her own field. But the problem is that the tourism consultant, the magistrate says that she has funny ideas. She has funny ideas for us. I mean, she doesn't understand what if this project, what if this idea doesn't work. We are accountable finally to the government, we are accountable to the people. So these specialists and these people, who are experts in their fields, they do have ideas, but unfortunately the problem with bureaucracy is that we have our own ideas and we have our own compulsions as well. Most of the time, these ideas and these compulsions take the light.
Thank you. Thank you. You're next.
My question is very simple. I just want to know what you think of the 2-year time frame. I mean, that's also a question that you can ask the organizing team, but as people who have worked in the government, I want to know what you think of the 2-year time frame in terms of the number of people, the kind of people coming in. You come, you work for 2 years. How does that affect the government in engaging with you as professionals? How does that affect you? You think of it as a 2-year internship, as a long, well, I would like to use the word glorified, just an extended internship period. I come in, I gain a bit of experience, I gain a flavor of the program. What does that mean for later, for the value addition I put in to the government, and what